Friday, November the 29th, 2024. Joe Jackson did not make the Hall of Fame, but he had a 356 career batting average, and that's what makes me curious about his career and his accomplishments. So far, I've looked at 3 seasons for his career: 1908, 1909, and 1910. He has a total of 30 hits in 3 seasons. Because he only has, let's see, looks like 115 at bats in 3 years. Not enough. He batted 130 his first year, 176, and then 387. So he has potential to be a good ball player after the 1910 season, but only 20 games. But what happens in 1911 is very significant. He gets into 147 games. He's 23 years old. He's playing for the 1911, the Cleveland Naps. 571 at bats. All right, so his manager and the team say, hey, this guy can play. He misses 7 games, but he gets 571 at bats, scores 126 runs. That means he's on base. He's got good hitters behind him. Listen to this stat: 233 hits in 147 games. Very good ratio of hits per games played. 45 doubles, 19 triples, 7 homers, 83 RBI. 41 stolen bases, 56 walks. Listen to this. He bats .408. And guess what? Did not win the batting title. Why? I'll tell you why. What happened in 1911 as far as other players in the league? Have you heard of a guy named Ty Cobb? 1911, he bats .419. So Jackson has a .400 batting season, .408, and does not win the batting title because Ty Cobb wins it at .419. How about that? That is an incredible stat. How do you like to bat .400 and not win the title? I don't think there's another player in baseball history who batted .400 and not win the batting title. Can you think of one? There could be. I'd have to research that one. Batting titles for all those years, and players who surpassed .400. Was there anybody not to win it batting .400? I'd have to look that stat up. I'll try to do some research on that one. .468 on base, very good, almost half the time. .590 slugging, and he gets 337 total bases. There are 5 things I like when a player has a season. 5 things that they can accomplish that I like. What is it? 1, 100 runs scored. Joe Jackson had 126. 200 hits. Second thing. Joe Jackson had 233. 100 RBIs. Jackson had 83, so he didn't do it. He's got 2 out of the 3. Bat 300 or better. Jackson gets .408. And then 300 total bases. Those are the 5 things: runs scored, hits, RBIs, batting average, and total bases. Those 5 things. If you can get 100 or more runs scored, I like it. 200 or more hits, I like it. 100 or more RBIs, I like it. Jackson didn't do it. But he did do the 300 or better, and he did do batting average. And then he did do the 300 or more total bases. So he got 4 out of the 5. You know, just for history's sake, who had the best 5 categories season? As those 5 I just mentioned. Who had the best of all time? I did some research. You know who did? Chuck Klein. Have you heard of him? This guy had a year you would not believe. And he had the highest score of those 5 categories. Chuck, let me put him in here. Klein. He's in the Hall of Fame. 1 year, listen to these stats. For Chuck Klein. The highest of anybody ever. As far as those 5 categories, if you add up all those numbers in the 5 categories, he had the highest score. He beat Babe Ruth, Roger Hornsby, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox, Ted Williams, all the guys, Tris Speaker, George Sisler. He beat them all in total score. What did Chuck Klein do in 1930? Remember, 5 categories. Runs scored. He had 158. 200 hits. He had 250. RBIs, 100 or better. He had 170. This is the same year. 300 or better batting average, he was 386. And then the 300 or more total bases, he had 445. Let me add those numbers up. These are 5 categories. 158 runs, 250 hits, 170 RBIs. He batted .386, and he had 445 total bases. That is a score of 1409. Nobody else in Major League history had a better score as far as those 5 individual categories. Even Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig did not have that high. They were in the 1300s. Roger Hornsby had a good one. He was in the 1300s. Luke and Jimmy Fox, George Sisler, and Tris Speaker, they were all up there. But Chuck Klein, number 1. But how about Joe Jackson's 1911 season? You know, even Ty Cobb did not get up to 1400. He was in the 1300s. He was another guy that had a really good line across the board. But how about Joe Jackson's 1911 season? 126 runs scored, 233 hits, 83 RBI. That's where he fell short. But he did have a 408, and he had a 337 total bases. How about? What a year for Joe Jackson. He has arrived. His 4th year in the league, 23 years old. Bats .408, but does not win the batting title. Ty Cobb wins it that year. All right, so what does Jackson do in the following year, 1912? We'll get to it next. I'm out.